Won't delay the House any further, but I do urge us all to concentrate and focus on what's necessary tonight.
Mr. Chairman.
I call the honourable member Mary-Ann Street.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The only thing that's good about passing this legislation this evening is that it might bring at least part of this episode in the life of Kaipara District to some kind of closure. Mr. Chairman, I want to refer in the first instance to the report of the Auditor-General, Lynn Provost. I must say, having only had the reports tabled yesterday, I haven't read the 450-page one, but I have read the shorter version, and I want to refer to it in some detail, because it seems to me that in the course of traversing the history of what the Auditor-General herself has called a woeful saga, and that term is one which members have picked up on this evening, she has done a very good job in highlighting many of the shortcomings. I have to say, before I get on to quoting her summary report, Mr. Chairman, I must say that if ever there was an advertisement for amalgamating small local authorities, then this is it. And I look forward to Northland uniting its 5 local authorities and territorial authorities in due course, in accordance with the recommendation of the Local Government Commission recently, because there are questions of capability, of competence and of capacity. Sometimes there were not enough people across this issue. Sometimes there were the wrong people across the issue, and sometimes there were people across the issue who were not competent to deal with it. And it's patently obvious from the observations of one who sat on that Local Government and Environment Select Committee and listened to the submissions, not just the Auditor-General's report, that there are plenty of people to whom blame should be apportioned. We are not in want of those, Mr. Chairman. But I just want to highlight some of the things from the Auditor-General's overview report, because I think they do go to the heart of the matter. She says that the Kaipara District Council had poor governance, poor management and poor records. So they were not, her staff were not able to establish exactly what happened at certain points in the development of this wastewater scheme, because the records were inadequate, who made the decisions was not clearly spelt out, and who was responsible for enacting decisions was not clearly spelt out either. She went on to say that the Kaipara District Council was out of its depth, to use her words, out of its depth with the public-private partnership decision. And she goes on to say that it followed all the right basic steps when it initially engaged with the scheme, but as it became more complicated, it became very clear that catering for risk and accounting for risk was not dealt with in a way that was either competent or careful. She also says that there were poor contracting practices that went on, that they negotiated directly with one of the tenderers, that the approach to the funding of the project was inadequate. The contract was signed in 2005 without the scheme being completed by having an identified disposal site for the effluent, and all of this was unwise. She also said that while there was consultation that went on in the early stages, again, with the communities in the District Council's jurisdiction, at the early stages, that fell to bits in the later stages of the scheme, Mr Chairman.
The Honourable Member Marianne Street.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. But the thing I want to focus on most from the Auditor-General's overview is the very robust way in which she dealt with the criticisms of staff in her own office. And right from the outset, when we were hearing submissions on this bill, Mr Chairman, we heard from people, and Mike Sabin mentioned in his introductory speech on this, that there were inadequacies in the audit officer's work. She does not shy away from that. She made the point that while some people suggested that it was inappropriate for her to review the work of her own business unit, that she disagreed, and it is absolutely appropriate for heads of organisations to do that critical analysis when it is necessary internally inside their organisation. But she did commission an independent person to carry out the review and provide a report, and the process surrounding her own examination of part of her business unit was totally transparent. So she said, yes, there were some problems with the way some of the audit work of the Kaipara District Council was carried out. The audit quality varied over a long period of time, she said, although there was notable improvement in later years. The review done by the expert independent reviewer criticised the quality of documentation in some audit files, particularly documentation that should explain why particular audit judgments were reached. And she goes on to say that between 2006 and 2009, the auditor didn't reassess the status of the wastewater project, despite it changing quite substantially during that period of time. She admits being deeply disappointed by the findings of the reviewer. But at least, she says, the general systems and the methodology of the Auditor-General's office were not in question. While there was some question about the quality of work performed, the methodology and the process within the Auditor-General's office, and neither of those things was found to be at fault. And this has got to be one of those moments when a chief executive says, well, what can we do better? What do we need to do to ensure that the quality of work is up to standard? Mr. Chairman, this bill will not please anybody. Any other outcome would not have pleased everybody either. So whichever way the Select Committee came down, there would have been somebody in the Kaipara District who was not happy with the outcome. The chairperson of the Select Committee has done an extremely good thing not only in the way she ran the Select Committee, but in the fact that she also made the committee become very activist in trying to arrive at some solution. I commend her for that. This bill is nothing that we like to see in this House, but it has to pass.
I call the Honourable Member Young Jan.
I move that the question be now put.
No, I'm going to hear from the Honourable Member Honi Harawira.
Thank you.